Russia asserts that Syria, Iraq and Lebanon are facing a common threat, which is the spread of international terrorism. A temporary ceasefire in Gaza reveals the systematic destruction which was pursued by the Israeli occupation forces during the air and ground offensive. The Iraqi army regained control of Sinjar district and Rabia'a area, kicking out the terrorists of Daesh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov criticized the actions of the United States in the Middle East, pointing out that such behaviors indicate that Washington doesn't have a well-studied strategy in the region. In an interview with the Russian Tass agency, Lavrov said that when Russia was drawing the attention of the Americans and the Europeans to the risk of the terrorist groups in Syria, the West and Washington in particular considered those terrorists as a power, even if they did not live up to the values of the West. Lavrov added that after the expansion of the terrorist organization so-called the State of Iraq and the Levant into Iraq, the Americans become confused, and this refers to the absence of an American strategy in the Middle East. Lavrov said that all Russia's attempts to hold clear talks at an early stage of the crisis in Syria did not lead to anything, despite suggestions that were centered on the importance that the actions at the international arena shouldn't be subjected to immediate internal interests. Syrian Arab Army units carried out a series of operations against the terrorist hideouts and gatherings in Damascus countryside. Syrian Arab Army units foiled 2 infiltration attempts by the terrorists from Khan al-Sheikh into al-Khammara and al-Sharq pharmaceutical factory to the east of al-Salam highway, killing many terrorists and injuring others. Syrian Arab Army also pounded the terrorist gatherings in the 2 streets of the Four Seasons and al-Bashir, as well as in a Nablus farm in Khan al-Sheikh in the southwestern countryside of the city, killing many terrorists and destroying their weapons. Meanwhile, Syrian Arab Army units destroyed a number of the terrorist hideouts, including all terrorists and their weapons, inside the vicinity of the Teachers' Tower in Jobar neighborhood. In Aleppo and its countryside, Syrian Arab Army eliminated a number of terrorists and destroyed their weapons and ammunition. Syrian Arab Army units killed many terrorists and injured others in several operations against their gatherings and hideouts in Qadi Askar, around the Ice Hospital, Bab al-Hadid, Al-Hilluk, Bani Zaid and Darit Azza, as well as in Salah al-Din, Al-Brej, Babis, Khirbet Ma'arrat and Shurfa, and destroyed a number of their vehicles, some of which equipped with heavy machine guns. Another Syrian Arab Army unit destroyed 7 vehicles, killing all terrorists inside in Tal Jbin, Al-Hadir and Dar al-Jamal, and eliminated many terrorists in an operation against their gatherings in Al-Rashidin. In Daraa countryside, Syrian Arab Army units killed many terrorists and injured others and destroyed their vehicles in operations against their gatherings in Abu Uthman farm west of Samlin town and in the village of Jadal in Al-Lajat, as well as in the vicinity of Tal al-Khadr and around Busr al-Sham. A convoy of 8 arrived to Daraa as part of support provided by the Syrian government in cooperation with the Syrian Arab Red Crescent in order to be distributed to 16 villages and towns. The 8 convoy is the second of its kind in the area, and it consists of 16 trucks carrying 8,000 food parcels and the same number of health parcels, which will be delivered to displaced families and those who were affected in the rural area of the city's western countryside. Coordination was completed with the mayors and dignitaries in the area to distribute the aid. After the terrorist attack on it, Jaramana electricity station returned to service. The electricity repair workshops reinstated the high-voltage line which connects the southern region with the middle area. In the same context, an armed terrorist group kidnapped 14 workers in the Ministry of Electricity while they were engaged in repairing the electricity line of Zerbezizun, which feeds the two governorates of Aleppo and Idleb. In Idleb countryside, the Syrian Arab Army targeted a hideout for the terrorist groups around the village of Mantaf, killing many terrorists and injuring others, most of them non-Syrians, including 17 leaders of the so-called Islamic Front. Many of the terrorists' machine gun-equipped vehicles were also destroyed during the operation. Syrian Arab Army units also killed many terrorists and injured others around the town of Qmenas in Idleb countryside during an operation in which the Syrian Arab Army experts dismantled 5 landmines and defused 8 explosive devices, each one weighs between 20 and 30 kilograms, that were planted in one of the town's farms. Welcome back. For the 4th day running, fierce clashes have continued between the Lebanese army and the terrorist groups to restore the building of the religious court and the vicinity of the custom house building in Arsal town. Earlier, fierce confrontations had erupted between the Lebanese army and the armed terrorist groups in the vicinity of Ras al-Sirj area. Other Lebanese army units besieged most of the hills along the eastern mountainous chain in Wadi al-Ariyan and Wadi Atallah areas to tighten its grip on the terrorists. In Tripoli, 8 Lebanese soldiers have been wounded in confrontations between the Lebanese army and terrorists who attacked a bus carrying Lebanese soldiers. Other terrorists targeted posts of the Lebanese army by firing rockets at them in Al-Malloule, Al-Mankubin, Al-Qubba and Abi Samra areas. The Russian Foreign Ministry has said that Syria, Iraq and Lebanon were facing a joint threat, which is the propagation of the international terrorism that aims to control more lands. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry described the latest events witnessed in Arsal town in Lebanon as a serious challenge for Lebanon's security and stability, calling upon Moscow's international partners to carry out an objective evaluation of these most grave phenomena witnessed in Syria, Iraq and Lebanon. It further called upon the West to do away with the policy of double standards and not to take any step that might not deter, rather aggravate the danger and extremism posed by the terrorists in the Middle East region. Spanish police has detained 2 female teenagers who were planning to travel to Morocco to meet elements of al-Qaeda affiliated network that recruits people to join the terrorist groups fighting in Syria and Iraq. The Spanish El País newspaper said that the 14 and 18-year-old girls admitted that they wanted to join the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Levant, adding that the 2 girls' case has been transferred to the Supreme Court in Madrid. In Iraq, the Iraqi army has liberated Barwana district in Al-Anbar province and in Al-Quwainat orchids in Tikrit and detained more than 260 terrorists. The Iraqi intelligence said that the commander of the first line of the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant has been killed. An Iraqi source has indicated that the Iraqi army and Iraqi tribes have killed a big number of terrorists of the so-called Islamic State in Iraq. Finally, a 72-hour truce has been declared in Gaza Strip within the framework to put an end to the Israeli barbarian offensive on the Strip. Just shortly before the declaration of the truce, Israeli jet fighters have bombarded sporadic areas in Gaza Strip, raising the death toll among the Palestinians who have been killed yesterday to 53. Medical sources have indicated that the death toll of the Palestinians have risen to 1,865 and the wounded to 9,470 since the Israeli offensive on Gaza Strip unfolded. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.